Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is your news report, second stimulus check update, and second stimulus package update for November 18th. We have a lot of news today in regards to our second stimulus check. The New York Times reports that Democratic leaders renew call for pandemic relief. The Democrats demand a big stimulus plan as Republicans insist on targeted relief. And just yesterday, Nancy Pelosi released a statement. She, along with Chuck Schumer, demand that Senator McConnell finally come to the negotiating table this week to produce bipartisan, bicameral, comprehensive stimulus relief. But Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are not the only Democrats that are asking Congress to come to an agreement. Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan has also called for more stimulus, according to the Detroit Free Press. Now before we get into the video, be sure to subscribe to my channel, click the notifications bell, and let's get this video to 1,000 likes to show Congress that we need more stimulus checks. Remember that on this channel I always provide you with the most up-to-date and reliable stimulus check information. So be sure to subscribe. Now Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer held a press conference yesterday. So let's see what he had to say about our second stimulus check and the current election.
Okay, good afternoon everyone, and I want to thank both Senators Kaine and Duckworth for joining me. Now we know this is a moment of great national challenge. COVID-19 is surging. People are dying. More people are getting sick than ever before. Families are struggling. Businesses are shuttering. People lose jobs. It's awful. Everywhere you go in this country, it's awful. So the election's over, and the country is ready, eager to get us to move so that we can begin healing the process. The country wants us to come together and get something done to deal with this COVID crisis. But Senate Republicans have continued denying the election results, and they are holding America back. The classic example today was the chairman of the Judiciary Committee calling around to states to try and interfere with the process. That was reckless, inappropriate. Instead of meddling with the vote counting in states that Trump lost, Lindsey Graham ought to be calling Senator McConnell and telling him to stop blocking COVID relief.
So there we have it. Senator Chuck Schumer once again is blaming Senate Leader Mitch McConnell for holding back our second stimulus. Now folks, should all the blame be put on Mitch McConnell for holding back our second stimulus check? Because remember, President Trump and Stephen Mnuchin did offer Speaker Pelosi a $1.9 trillion stimulus bill to approve before the election. It was a bill that Pelosi did not pass. So leave your comments down below, everybody. Is Mitch McConnell the one to blame? If you think so, then leave a comment down below saying blame Mitch. The New York Times reports that Democratic leaders renew call for pandemic relief. Top congressional Democrats renewed calls for sweeping relief packages on Thursday, insisting that voters give President-elect Joe Biden and his party a mandate to fight the pandemic aggressively. Speaker Pelosi of California and Senator Chuck Schumer of New York cited record-breaking infections across the country, along with the presidential election results, to justify their position that any package must be much larger than what Republicans had been suggesting. By holding firm to keeping $2.4 trillion in new spending as their starting point, Democrats appear to be closing the door on the possibility of a year-end compromise with Republicans, who will propose spending a fraction of that amount. This election was maybe more of a referendum on who can handle COVID well than anything else, Mr. Schumer said. The Joe Biden approach was embraced. This is why we think there's a better chance of getting a deal in the lame duck. Now, even though Joe Biden has already won the election, we are currently in the lame duck session of Congress. And while President Trump is still fighting the election results, it's kind of making it more difficult for a stimulus bill to be approved during this time, especially if Chuck Schumer and Pelosi continue blaming the Republicans for holding back our stimulus check. And the Republicans, like Senator Mitch McConnell, also blaming the Democrats for holding back our stimulus check. My point is that this blame game in Congress cannot keep going on. The least Congress can do is pass a stimulus check. If you agree with me, then leave a comment down below saying I agree. The New York Times goes on to say that leaders in both parties have acknowledged the need for another round of stimulus, but they have yet to agree on the scope and cost of a second package, with Republicans insisting on a much smaller bill than what Democrats and even the White House have been advocating ahead of the election. Speaker Pelosi also wrote a letter to Senator Mitch McConnell. She wrote, "We were encouraged by your comments shortly after the election that you believe that Congress needs to act on another COVID-19 relief package, and that it's a possibility we will do more for state and local governments. We agree with you. We write to request that you join us at the negotiating table this week so that we can work towards a bipartisan, bicameral relief agreement to crush the virus and save American lives. During negotiations with Secretary Mnuchin and Chief of Staff Meadows, we agreed to compromise on a relief package and lowered our request by $1.2 trillion. Since that time, you have lowered your proposal from $1 trillion to $500 billion, despite the consensus from economists and experts that the country requires a much larger injection of aid. Meaningful relief requires aid to schools, small businesses, and individuals where the virus has torn through communities and left many stranded without help. Pelosi's letter goes on to say that it is essential that this bill have sufficient funding and delivers meaningful relief to many Americans who are suffering. For the sake of the country, we ask you to come to the table and work with us to produce an agreement that meets America's needs in this critical time. I do agree with Speaker Pelosi on several points. It is a fact that Senator Mitch McConnell has reduced his stimulus bill proposal to $500 billion. And that's something I do not agree with. If President-elect Joe Biden does shut down the country for 4 to 6 weeks, then of course we're going to need more stimulus relief than $500 billion. Most importantly, we're going to need $1,200 stimulus checks, which Mitch McConnell did not include in his $500 billion proposal. And yes, Speaker Pelosi and the Democrats did reduce their proposal by $1.2 trillion. So I believe that Senate leaders like Mitch McConnell and other Republicans should support a $2.2 trillion stimulus proposal like the one that the Democrats are proposing. So I think that Mitch McConnell just needs to listen to President Trump and pass more stimulus. If you agree with me, then leave a comment down below and give this video a like. In regards to our current world news, Yahoo News reports that Trump's decision to pull troops from Afghanistan could put Biden in a strategic corner. While the drawdown of US troops in Afghanistan that the Trump administration announced Tuesday gives President-elect Joe Biden something close to what he advocated for as vice president, it may paint him into a corner as an incoming president, military experts say. Larry Goodson, an authority of Afghanistan at the Army War College, said that dramatically reducing the size of the force in Afghanistan so close to the change of administrations would be a mistake. Trump's move also seemed at odds with the events on the ground, he said, pointing to a recent spate of bombings and assassinations in the Afghan capital of Kabul. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi issued a statement expressing concern that the administration had not coordinated the drawdown with NATO partners. This hasty withdrawal does not appear to have a strategic plan that adequately anticipates contingencies, especially related to terrorism and the protection of our military and development presence. Do you think that this is a great idea from President Trump? Is it right for him to withdraw our troops from Afghanistan and Iran? With that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope all of you found this video useful. If you did, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click the notifications bell.